What's up, internet world, and welcome back to the channel. Today I bring you the 2021 Porsche Cayenne GTS. And on the throttle. Nice. Nice. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, when Porsche built the Cayenne back in 2002, one of the original thought processes was that they wanted to produce an SUV that could tow a 911 to the track with a full set of race wheels. And they accomplished that because this thing tows 7,700 pounds or 3,500 kilograms. So that's where they started, but where are they at today? I am excited to bring this car to you. So thank you, Porsche of London, for letting us borrow this 2021 Cayenne GTS. Now I'm excited because Porsche sold 272,000 cars in 2020. And out of that, they sold about 100,000 Cayennes. And if you add up all the SUVs they did, including the Macan, pretty much Porsche sells 2/3 that are not 911s. That's sort of a staggering number. So that wanted me to take a deep dive to find out what is it about the Cayenne. So I didn't want to get the turbo because that's so expensive. I wanted to get one step below it. So the most expensive non-turbo model you can buy is this Cayenne GTS. There are specific GTS pieces in a GTS Cayenne. Number one, some of the aesthetics on the body. I'll get into that. Number two, the exhaust. I'll get into that. But let's back up a little bit and explain to you how many Cayennes are available. There are 12. There are 12 different Cayenne variants you can get. Now you must be saying, what's the big deal? What's the big deal about 12 different variants? Well, here's the thing. It's not like other vehicles where you buy the main and you can add options. Each one has an option. Whether you get a regular S, you can add toys to it. Or if you get the hybrid, you can add toys to it. Or if you get the GTS, you can add toys to it. So the variations are crazy. They're pretty much lottery winning. So if you call up a Porsche dealer and say, hey, I'm looking for a turbo with so and so, good luck. Everything is designed to be specially ordered for you. And that's what makes Porsche different. So back to the GTS now, and this GTS carries a 4-liter V8 twin scroll turbo, and that is exciting because the last generation didn't have a V8, and that was probably one of the drawbacks of this Cayenne GTS. They didn't want a V6, they want the original V8. Now I was lucky enough to get into one of the original Cayenne GTSs back when I used to live in Dubai about 13 years ago, and that thing was monstrous. That thing would take corners like crazy. That is why I'm really excited to get this thing on the road, even though there's a snowstorm outside. So the only real drawback that I can find about this GTS is its competitor, itself. It's got a Cayenne S in front of it, and here's the problem. Let me show you. So here's the problem. This makes 454 horsepower and 457 foot-pounds of torque, which is only 20 horsepower more than the Cayenne S with a 2.9 liter V6. What's up with that? This makes me think Porsche is trying to be a helicopter parent around their GTS, and they want this thing to run to 1 million miles because this engine is not going to get any abuse, like none. So the only thing I think about is tuning, that you actually have this motor ready to go that's not been touched. not been abused, no matter how hard you drive this car, this motor is still not going to be taken to anywhere close to its potential, because this is the full-out turbo motor. Let me give you a real-world example. This is a hairdryer, and this is a hairdryer at 11.6 pounds of pressure. Now let me give you what a turbo gives you at 18.8 pounds per pressure. So the only differences between the GTS and the turbo is boost pressure, just the amount of air that's being force-fed into this V8. No. GTS actually has a specific exhaust tuned specifically for this GTS and sounds like this only in this GTS. Take a listen. But the coolest part about the GTS is that it's rear wheel biased. It's the most rear wheel biased Cayenne that you can buy on the market today. Now, ironically enough, the turbo variant of this that's not a coupe is actually getting very difficult to order from the dealership. Ironically enough, because they probably realize that the turbo is just too much. You either have to get the hybrid that makes crazy amounts of power in the 670 power range, or this that's sort of detuned. So it's really unique that they might, I think, might even get rid of the turbo straight version and keep the coupe. What do you think? So the front of this GTS actually has something called active flap control. So right behind here, it allows these flaps to open and close depending on how much airflow it needs. Also, all this is all black, so the whole car is black. Actually, matter of fact, underneath the construction of this body shell is a hybrid of galvanized steel and aluminum, and there's aluminum everywhere. There's an aluminum hood, aluminum roof, aluminum fenders, and aluminum tailgate. Now, if you look at the front of this vehicle, it's awesome. It's got blacked out mirrors. As I mentioned, blacked out front. Everything in this car is black. There's nothing in this car that has color. I mean, obviously besides the badge and these crazy side markers that are forced upon us. So what does the Cayenne cost? Well, they start at around $75,000 and go all the way up to about $200,000 depending on how you equip them. That's Canadian money. So what does the GTS cost? The GTS kind of slots right in the middle at about $120K. But what do you get for $120K? Well, I'll tell you what. You actually get half the price of a Urus, because people actually compare this to a Urus. A Urus is not cheap. This isn't either, but it's still half the price. Now, if we talk about stance, the regular Cayenne stands at a regular height. The turbo drops it by 10 millimeters, and this GTS is the lowest Cayenne you can get at a 20 millimeter drop. But not only that, take a look at the build quality of this thing. This thing's got amazing seam molding, that it's super smooth. Now, when you get into your car, look at where these body panels connect and see the smoothness. Look at this, and look at this. This is amazing. This is what you guys are spending your money on right here. Probably doesn't mean a whole lot, but it means the details, how detail-oriented they are. And there is some overlap. We reviewed an Audi RS Q8 a couple of months ago, and that thing is killing it. It's our first video that's going to hit about 1 million views. But I want to show you the brakes, because you can get those exact same brakes. Now, these brakes are 6-piston caliper, 15 and change in terms of diameter. Now, the RS Q8 or the upgraded brakes, which are carbon ceramics, are 17 millimeters with 10 piston brakes. Now, 10 piston brakes, that is crazy. Yeah, you can get it in this. So if we come to the side of the car here, this has something underneath that you cannot see. So the suspension's got so many different systems and so many different pieces. One of them is a 48-volt anti-roll stabilization system that basically keeps the car as planted as possible. When one side lifts, it does its business and hammers that side down. So I'm really excited to take it for a drive and show you that thing. But it also has something called torque vectoring designed by Porsche. And this is real torque vectoring. This is not just electronic. There's mechanically faceted components in here that keeps the car planted and keeps this thing as close. Because remember, This is from the company that makes the 911. So this has a heated windshield on the front, and I like it because it's not like Range Rover that has those little lines that if you look at it over a long period of time, you get used to it, but sometimes you do get a bit of a headache. So it doesn't have that, but it does have a heated windshield on it. It also has 21-inch wheels, RS Spider wheels that look awesome on this. Do you guys like these wheels? I love the way this looks. I love the way the whole car looks. Now, the coupe design's almost the same. It kind of looks almost identical, except it does slant back because obviously it's a coupe, because Germans like to really hammer coupes down our throat. Fastback, sportback, coupe, you know, thanks Mercedes for starting the trend. All right, so we're on the back of the car now, but I want to talk about two things quickly. One is the puddle lamps. Not only do you get them in the front, you also get them in the back. Sweet. So on the back of this GTS, they have a specific GTS rear upper spoiler. That's specific to a GTS. As well, in the back here, if you get the coupe, you cannot get it on the full version, but on the coupe, you can actually get a sport exhaust that actually comes out to the center of the vehicle. Now, again, you cannot get it on this version. This one does have a sport exhaust. From what I hear from the coupe guys is that when it's here, it can actually burn your leg because this exhaust is right here. So when you put stuff in and out, you could actually burn your leg. Kind of interesting, because I like the way it looked actually. I was curious to know if you could get it in this, and you can't, but let's take a look at it inside and see how much space you get. As far as space, this is pretty typical. This is exactly the same as the Q8 in my opinion. It looks exactly the same, the depth is exactly the same. So if you drive an Audi product right now, or you don't have a Porsche dealer near you, you can actually go look at an Audi Q8 and that will tell you how much space you get in the back trunk. Everything else is pretty straightforward. And it does have a blank button. See this blank button here? What is it doing there? Well, in North America, you can't get it, but in Europe you can, and that is for an automatic retracting power tow hitch. All right, so I'm in the back seat of the 2021 Cayenne GTS and smell that German money. Or smell the cigarettes, because this thing does have a smoker's package. So when I opened the door, I was expecting to have an ashtray here, but no, they're thinking there's actually an ashtray right here. So curious, why does this thing not have heated back seats? But it does have recline. Click. 3 increments of all the way back. Germans just know how to make really good leather and smell and feel. There's just something about it. Keep watching this video. Oh, I am in the 2021 Porsche Cayenne GTS. This has Bordeaux red interior. They normally come with a race text interior, which has Alcantara here and Alcantara and different race grab handles here, but the only Alcantara in this vehicle is in the ceiling. It's so nice. There's no plastic. The only real plastic here is the piano black finishes where they have on the insert here, and everything else is leather. Leather dash, leather upper sill, leather, lots of leather. Anyways, this is stunning. Guys, this is stunning to film. Everything's interior is just really crisp. From the Sport Chrono little stopwatch we have up there, to the 3 increments of memory seat, to the latch, how to open the trunk and close the trunk. There is buttons and then there's touch buttons. So they've sort of integrated, just like the Taycan that I reviewed. It's a mix. So they do have physical buttons. So the volume control is a slide up, slide down. They do have a parking brake, which is a pull up button to put into park. It does have the grab handles. Really good 14-way adjustable seats. So continuing from the back, the smoker's package comes up front with a nice ashtray here. I have no idea who'd order a smoker's package, but I guess somebody did. Now, as far as getting in the car and starting it, there's no start button here on the side. Like typical Porsches, the start button's on that side, and it's not a button, it's an actual key, which is awesome. I love that part. It brings that heritage back in, and they'll never get away from just having a button. There's going to be always a toggle like they do in the Taycan, or in this specific case, just a turn pretend key. Now there's a little secret here. There's a secret button right here along with the drive mode. So you have normal, sport, sport plus, and individual, which you can customize in the 12.3 inch screen you have up here that has really, really good clarity. Now this secret button, I'm going to show you guys on the drive portion, so make sure you watch that. Now these specific seats don't have a GTS logo back here, but they do have something unique, and that is headrest and move forward. Thank you for having that. So this GTS has ambient lighting, and it's not easy to find it. You see, when you click these buttons, you're so used to looking at the center. So when you look at it, it's got drive, off-road, control, trip, and chrono, but it also shows vehicle display, system, and owner's manual. But the ambient lighting is hidden right up here in poppy red. And this is where you go through it. It shows total brightness, the color you want to pick, oak orange, cold white, lemon green, so on and so forth. And that is cool because it actually shows up here. It also has an off-road mode. Now, I'm not sure who would take this GTS for an off-road mode, but it does have an on-road, a gravel, a mud, sand, and rocks. And it has this sort of display system on there that shows you if it's locking the rear center or back diff. So to pay tribute to the original GTS, as I mentioned, this does have the crimson red chrono, but check how the chrono works. You hit the start button here and it lines up, and it's awesome. So I want to talk about three final things before we jump in for the drive. First things first is, can you use gloves on this screen? So let's use this mask as an example. You push the buttons and every button works, even if I have gloves on. And this is a triple mask, by the way. So that works, that's out of the picture. Secondly, I want to talk about the rear view and 360 camera. Now it does have an overhead panoramic view that you can toggle between the front and the back simply by pressing the button on the top or pressing the button on the bottom. And lastly, I love the fact that Porsche doesn't get away from what it believes in, and that is keeping the RPM right in the center. Your tach is right in the middle. It does have a digital display underneath and digital to the right and digital to the left that shows you your speed as well as how much fuel you have and the outside temperature. With all that said, let's take it for a drive. All right, so I'm in the 2021 Cayenne GTS, and the moment I've been waiting for. Lots of snow outside, guys, lots of donuts. Now, guys, you got to remember what I'm driving. I'm not driving a small car. I'm driving a pretty big SUV here, and I feel super confident. The confidence is crazy. And it doesn't have too much gurgle back. It's not like blah, 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 like the AMGs. It's when you pin it and you shift it, then you get that sound. But otherwise, normally, it's refined. There's a little one or two pops, but it's not crazy at all. And on the throttle here, ooh, nice little drift. Do you guys see that? This is an 8-speed Tiptronic gearbox, and it shifts fast. I must add, when I touch those shifters, they're so soft when I hit it. Okay, so just watch how this thing shifts. So second gear on the throttle. Like, listen to that, listen to that. It's instant. The shifting is instant. Yes, on paper it says 8-speed Tiptronic, but it doesn't feel like an 8-speed Tiptronic. 8-speed Tiptronics are like this. This thing's like, yes. And this is detuned. And this is detuned. 11.5 pounds of boost. Imagine what it's like with 18 pounds of boost. Yes, you saved some money. This engine just sounds so good, so good. A V8 twin turbo, V8 twin turbo. Turn on the hairdryer. This is so well insulated that I can hear the exhaust on the outside, but inside it just sounds so magical. God, that's good. And the steering is amazing. It is amazing. Like, I definitely don't feel like I'm driving an SUV. I already said that, but I'm gonna repeat it again. There is just no way this thing is in an SUV. God, Porsche. I can only imagine this thing on a track. Now I know there's a lot of weight behind it, but man, this thing is so secure. I feel so confident driving this car, SUV. Does it even matter? Now, in order to get 4.5 seconds, you actually have to get the Sport Chrono. Otherwise, you can do 0 to 62 or 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.8 seconds. Now for the secret button. So right in between my selector here, there's a little push, and I'm gonna push this bad boy to get more power. Sport response on. Now, 20 seconds, that is the number. So there's a lot of debate online on how long the sport response lasts. And in this specific case, it's 20 seconds. I thought it was 10. Everywhere I read said 10, but it actually is 20 seconds. So this button gives you sort of an extra boost option for 20 seconds. It's called Sport Response. So if you're passing somebody or you just want to have some fun with a little bit more power, you know, turn that hairdryer up, throttle down, push the button, Sport Response. And there's a timer that says 20 seconds and it comes right back. Look at that thing. Man, you're just so good to me. That's when I need the headrest. Save me. So if I was being really fussy about value and money, obviously this is the wrong car to do it in, or wrong brand, because really Cayennes and Macans, as we discussed earlier, are really only there to pay for the 911, because this is their profit center. So I get it. People buy these things because they like it, but also to keep Porsche around because they want more 911s. So I could complain that this doesn't have heads-up display, doesn't have massage seats, has a bunch of buttons that are there but don't illuminate, don't even work. I could also complain that trying to find a volume on here should really be these rollers and not this plus and minus button, but hey, that's being fussy. What I'm not complaining about is how awesome the steering wheel is, this torque vectoring, and this rear bias. Yeah. As I sit here in silence, I'm trying to figure out what I can say next, because I'm not yearning for more. I feel like this gives me everything I need. It's fast. It handles amazing. There's so much underbody suspension pieces that kind of put it all together to give me that confidence to take any corner like a madman. And it's quiet. It fits everything and more. Oh man, this. Yeah, the Porsche Cayenne GTS. From the outside, it's not overly aggressive. It's got these sort of clean body lines that I probably couldn't tolerate in a base Cayenne. But when you get the GTS, you have all these outside pieces that just really tidy it up. And the all black everything just really cleans it up. Inside is another story. I just don't understand how they can make an SUV handle this well. This is softer around corners than the Audi RS Q8. That's more of a brute. This is more refined, which is the weirdest thing to say, but it is. It's more refined. The dash is more refined. Yeah, it does have these little wonky these sort of handles here, and the smoker's tray is kind of odd. But it's everything I kind of love. It's comfortable. It's monstrous when you want it to be monstrous, but not crazy monstrous like some of the AMG product. It's just refined. The end. But before I go, don't get it twisted. You need this V8. This V8 is magical. Magical. There is so much there that is untapped, and knowing that just makes me feel good. Huh.